Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I'll fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have it douse, not what I'm about, have your f***ing cloud, it be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me, a slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can. Just tell me that I can.
All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Unscripted. You can find us again on TikTok under Unscripted Sports, all one word. You can also find us on Twitter at Unscripted Guys, all one word. My brother Logan, how are you doing tonight? Happy New Year's.
Yes, sir, Jay. Happy New Year. We're, 3 days into the new year, and we've already had a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. And I'm ready for it, man.
All right. Well, hey, without further ado, let us jump into life. Bam. All right. Breaking news. Obviously, as everybody knows, the tragedy that struck last night in the Bills versus Bengals game. They got maybe 6-7 minutes in, and Damar Hamlin was going for the tackle on T. Higgins. T. Higgins kind of went low, got Damar in the stomach region, and Damar went down in the tackle, got back up as if nothing had happened, and obviously 2 seconds later, he passed out, hit the ground, and then the ensuement of cardiac arrest, CPR, things of that nature went into play. Extremely tragic thing that happened that night. Obviously, everybody was shaken up. NFL was shaken up. Didn't really know what kind of call to make because, again, this has never happened. And pretty much, I don't think a long-ass time, honestly. But they did get the call right. Everybody was deciding, like, we're gonna postpone this game. We're not going to worry about it. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Right now, the focus is on Damar and his recovery. I will tell you, Logan, I was talking about this on the afternoon show earlier today. I know, we're all sad, but the one good thing is that he has a heartbeat, man. The worst thing would be is if he did not have a heartbeat and we're planning funeral arrangements and things like that. But he has a heartbeat. And when there's a heartbeat, then God can work. And even if he didn't have a heartbeat, God could still work. But what I'm saying is that, God, he's in God's hands. God will take care of him. The fact that there's a heartbeat gives us hope that he can come back and get back to life. And as long as there's a heartbeat, man, there's a chance. Right, Logan?
Oh, yeah, man, 100%. And, I mean, this is something that's really kind of just taken everyone, not just football commentators, but not just sports commentators, news, everyone really. Everyone's talking about this story, and I mean, rightfully so. It's a very scary subject. It really hits you with that dose of, these are well-trained athletes. We all know we see them make the flashy plays and the big money. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Jay, we're all human. And for a play that wasn't anything crazy, it was just a standard football play. That's all it was. It wasn't anything wild. It was a basic tackle. And, just for that to happen, and like you said, hopefully he is now on the good swing of things, and he can get out of the hospital sooner rather than later. Like I said, I think the NFL made the correct call in canceling the game because, I mean, I people still are having trouble processing this. I mean, let alone the players who know him a lot better than we do, who share road trips with him, lockers with him, and I do think they made the right call. They did say that they're not going to make up the game this week. So I do think it is going to be somewhat soon since the season is ending soon. And that is an important game. If it wasn't an important game, I think they could just scrap it all together. But this does have some implications, so they're going to have to play it eventually. But like you said, man, I hope that he's okay. And also, too, something that I think people need to talk more about, I hope T. Higgins is doing good, too. Because I hope that he doesn't put any of this on him, on himself. I hope that him and his family's doing good, and all that. So, yeah, it's just a real scary situation all in all, man. And hopefully, like I said, we're hoping for the best. It looks like things are getting better slowly but surely. And hopefully, the great doctors and nurses he's with and he's going to be going to, they can get whatever this was figured out and get him properly treated, so he can get the help he needs in this insanely scary situation for someone who's only 24. I mean, he's a young guy.
He's a young man.
And it's been great too to see everyone going out, supporting him and telling what a great person he is with his donations to kids and whatnot, and giving money to that and helping him out and everyone else. And he sounds like just a really good guy, and we're all hoping for the best for him for sure.
Yeah, T. Higgins, he came out basically, and tweeted, that, thoughts and prayers for DeMar and his family. So you got to imagine, look, if you're a human being, you're going to carry a certain level of that with you. And so I'm sure he is going through some things. And so we also want to extend our thoughts and prayers out to him as he, comes to grips with this. And honestly, I think the NFL would do them a world of good to provide therapy, or at least have somebody out there to talk to them, about what happened, so that they can help to navigate, their emotions and how they're going to go forward in dealing with this. One of the big things I know that's on everybody's mind is, or has been talked about, is the fact there is a heartbeat. And, first of all, thank you to the first responders. Look, the ambulance got out there when it got out there, but that really wasn't the big thing. The big thing was getting those first responders there on the scene and getting that heart rate back up so they could get blood flow to the brain so he didn't have brain damage. And that really was a critical thing, was the first responders and how fast they got to him and what they were able to do for him. That really was the critical component, was getting that heart rate. Blue, stop it. Nobody's out there for you. I think his girlfriend came by. But no, seriously. Blue, shut up. Oh, I tell you, it's like having a kid sometimes. It's a heart rate, because once you get the oxygen back, everything else you can work on, you can restore it. But if you don't keep blood going to that brain, that's where, even if he was able to come out of it, or not come out of it, but even if, if you got him on life support, if that brain isn't there, then there's no DeMar. So
right, and like you said, I also want to give a big shout out to the first responders and the people who were able to act as quick as they did to get everything under control as quick as possible. Because, I mean, like you said, Jay, this does not happen every day. This is very rare. I mean, I'm sure it's happened before. I can't tell you when or where, but it is a very rare occurrence. And I think that, everyone involved was able to handle it the best they can. That's just a testament to them.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say on this is, again, from ASAP family, from the Afternoon Blitz and all of Gonzo's Sports Room, and especially here at Unscripted, all of our thoughts and prayers are with the family, and we do hope that he gets a speedy return and that he can get back to life. I don't care if it's in the football or not. I just want to see him get back to life, walk, do the things that he enjoys. So we are praying that God will intervene and make that happen, and we're going to speak that into existence. On other news, Martina Navratilova, man, I don't know if you're checking her out, but, she's battling breast cancer and throat cancer. Apparently, there was a lump in the side of her neck. She went and had that lymph node checked out. It turned out to be stage 1 throat cancer. But while they were discovering the throat cancer, then they found out that she had non-aggressive breast cancer. And so they were able to, I think what they're saying, what Martina was saying, is that it is a fixable situation. They caught it in time, and that she should be able to make a good recovery on this. And again, if those of you that aren't familiar with tennis, Martina Navratilova is only an 18-time Grand Slam singles champion. Not that she's done a whole lot in her career per se, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, Jay. As someone I've had a lot of family members have breast cancer. That's the big thing is be sure you go and get checked. If there's any signs, go and get checked regularly and make sure that everything is good. And like you said, Jay, I know that they were looking for the throat cancer, but I'm glad that they were able to catch this super early and that it is going to be fixable. Like you said, we also wish her the best in her recoveries because I mean that's always a word that you always hear, and a lot of people are affected by it, sadly. And we wish her and her family the best on this recovery.
Gonzo, hello, sir. Welcome aboard.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
I was just telling Logan that you probably woke up for your nap.
Kind of.
It's okay to say you were napping. I was napping about 35 minutes ago. It's okay. It's all good. We're
Gotta
old.
get the pre-show naps in.
Gonzo said we're old. We nap and we podcast. That's what we do, Logan.
No, I've been up.
I've
I've been up since 8 o'clock this morning. That's a long day for me with no nap.
Hey, there's your boy Dup saying hi. What's up, Dup, man?
Mm-hmm.
Good to have you with us, man. Gonzo, it's interestingly enough, we were talking about Donovan Mitchell's crazy 71-11-8 performance, not seen since Kobe Bryant put up that 81. Oddly enough, the Cavs were issuing performance-enhancing drug tests the next day to all the members of the Cavaliers. Ironic? I know they're supposed to get 4 tests done per year, and they're supposed to get 2 done in the offseason, but you had to know that test was coming, huh?
Yeah, I've seen the NFL do it a lot in the past. Hell, I remember one time they Adam Vinatieri hit like 7 or 8 field goals in a game, and they next day he got drug tested. So you see a lot of these leagues do that quote unquote random test after somebody has a great game.
That's the biggest lie in sports, that random drug test. Come on, we see this every time, especially with social media getting as big it has. Really, we'll say 5 years. I mean, yeah. These guys are now tweeting about it or posting about it saying, yeah, so I got a quote unquote random drug test today after I just dropped 71 points. Like I've always found that comical. Like you said, if someone gets a lot of field goals, like you said, Chris, or if someone just goes off for an insane night, they're going to get that quote-unquote random drug test the next day. I mean, come on.
And then we bring in Frankie, the Yankee, Foxborough Frankie, all kinds of Frankies. Man, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, guys. How's your night going?
It's going good. Sorry I didn't see you there, man, because I had my screen partially minimized, so I think you were underneath Logan. So my apologies getting you in late, man. But we were just talking about Donovan Mitchell scoring that 71, and then the Cavs turn around the next day and give him a drug test, a performance-enhancing drug test. So then he tweets out, hey, guess what? I got a drug test. So, yeah, how crazy is that, huh?
I mean, it's I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that word because that's a little bit rude, but I think it's ridiculous. Yeah, it is ridiculous. It's also dumb on their part. I mean, we've seen it in every league, every sports around the world. Aaron Judge hitting all those home runs, and they wanted to, surprisingly probably drug test him. You got, a member on the Patriots, Matthew Judon, when he was getting so many sacks earlier in the season, he got randomly drug tested, and now you got Donovan Mitchell, who scored 71 points on a really shitty Chicago Bears team or Chicago Bulls team. I apologize. And then gets randomly drug tested. I mean, it's just insane. I don't remember Kobe Bryant getting drug tested randomly after he scored 81 on Toronto. So I don't see why they did that to Donovan Mitchell. The man was just going insane last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I kind of want to turn over real quick if we can. One of the other things I want to talk about was Tua in Week 18 has been ruled out. They don't know if Teddy Bridgewater's going to play. They don't know if Thompson's going to play, their third-string quarterback. Right now it's up for grabs. You know what else is up for grabs? The number 7 spot in the AFC. Right now, I believe New England is holding on to that. We know New England's got to play the Bills in Week 18, so that's going to be a very number one, it's going to be an emotional game because of the situation with Hamlin. And then number 2, the Bills are a tough freaking team, so you know that New England is definitely going to have their work cut out for them. if they want to hold on to that number 7 spot. But I really want to turn my attention to Miami because Miami is also 8-8, vying for that number 7 spot. Without Tua, do they even have, and by the way, they're playing the Jets, who also, by the way, is trying to get into the playoffs. So Miami is at a crucial, situation. They were looking pretty good. Now they're on the outs. They're trying to get back on the in. You couldn't ask for a better situation with New England, battling the Bills. All Miami does do is go in there and beat, whatever string quarterback the Jets are going to throw in front of them. It's really there for their taking almost per se. But without Tua, I don't think they get it done unless maybe you go with Bridgewater. I don't know. Gonzo, what are you thinking about all that?
Oh, yeah. I
was just going to say, Jay, the Jets got eliminated from the playoffs already.
Oh, did they get – okay, I wasn't sure if that was official. Okay. Well, either way, they're still got to be playing spoiler to Miami, right? I mean, Miami's still trying to get up in there. So how do you see that turning out, Gonzo?
I think Miami's going to end up missing the playoffs. I think they just had the injuries here with Tua and everything here toward the end of the season. And, Tua's been kind of throughout the season. But here at the end of the season, they've kind of struggled. And then going into a game, now you got Bridgewater hurt, so you might be on your third-string quarterback. I think it's going to be a game they're going to come up a little short in.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with everything that happened last night. What they do with the top 3 seeds there, because the number 1 seed was still up for grabs.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
If they do resume the game or what they end up doing, and how the top 3 seeds work out.
Logan, Tua's out, man. Is there any kind of way possible that Miami can get this, this is obviously assuming that Buffalo beats New England. Can Miami reclaim that 7th spot?
Oh, it's going to be tough. I mean, does anyone have any – I wish we had Rob Stride on the show. He'd tell us. But who is the next man up for Miami in the quarterback?
Well, it would be Bridgewater at the number 2 spot, but I think he's battling or something. So then
who's number 3? I mean, best of luck to that brother. But I don't know, man. This is just the tale of 2 teams limping their way to the end of the season. I mean, Miami had some good expectations with Tua, with Waddle, with Tyreek and everything, with the new head coach. And they looked hot for a little while. They didn't look pretty solid, but they have significantly cooled off with Tua battling his injuries and whatnot, and a few other things as well. But I mean, same with New York, for God's sake. I mean, they looked like they were going to be going to the playoffs, but things have just really unraveled in the last handful of weeks for them. So, I mean, I think I could trust the Jets more just because they have, with their defense comes to play, that's going to be, it's going to be a little bit easier for them, I think, going up against the 3rd-string starter for Miami. But I think the Jets will get the win in an ugly game in this one.
Frankie, I got a different question. It's really a 2-part one for you since you're a New England fan. I'm going to pose this a different way. New England's going up against a Bills team that obviously is going through a hard time right now with the loss of Hamlin. Number one, New England can take advantage of that secondary now that they don't have Hamlin there and exploit the secondary with their passing game. And number 2, if you don't beat the Bills, do you think that Miami's going to lose this and you still retain number 7 regardless?
To answer your first question, Jay, I don't think that it's going to make a difference in their secondary. The Buffalo Bills have so many players defensively in their secondary. I feel like they're just going to go in there emotionally, thinking about DeMar Hamlin. But then again, you never know with New England. Hopefully they can come out the bag. But even if we do lose, I'm gonna sit here and pray that the Jets can somehow, some way defeat the Miami Dolphins for me.
Yeah, Dustin Reese says basically he thinks Miami beats the Jets and that New England loses to Buffalo and will be out. He also goes on to say that Kansas City should get the home field advantage throughout because Buffalo will have one less game. But I don't think that's 100% official yet, Dustin. So I don't know that we can say that because They may still try to fit that at the end of the season. They may try to still plug that game back in there, depending. So that one we'll have to put on ice. But I do see what you're saying, and we'll have to see where that goes from here. Secondly, Tulane, for the love of goodness, man, poor Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams, man. I'll tell you, I see why that man's the Heisman. That dude went 37 of 52, 462 damn yards, and 5 freaking touchdowns. I mean, how much more do you need from a Heisman guy than that? Unfortunately, they did come up short, and Tulane did put 16 points in the matter of 4 minutes to take the win over USC. I got to be honest with you. Between the TCU game, the Georgia game, and then the Tulane and USC game, we're talking about 3 very close, hard-fought games. I mean, and 3 incredible comebacks. What do you think about that, Gonzo? It's crazy.
It's crazy, but it shouldn't be a big surprise. I mean, what Lincoln Riley do in Oklahoma? They'd always have a top offense and be able to put up points against anybody, but their defense was terrible.
Right.
And he's went to USC with the transfer portal, got to bring in he got some of the guys from Oklahoma and some other guys, but if he can't get a better defensive coordinator, he can't figure out something to fix the defensive side of the ball, they're going to waste the talent they have on the offensive side of the ball, especially this quarterback, because this Williams isn't going to be there 4 full years, not the way he's playing. So it's going to be interesting to see if Lincoln Riley can finally fix a defense somewhere and get USC where they can compete with these top teams, because they have the offense on the defensive side of the ball, man. I mean, he might as well not even put a defense out there on the field for part of that game yesterday.
No, I definitely agree with you, Logan. Like you said, Caleb Williams, offensive-minded, not a lot of defense with USC, which is true. And then, of course, they did lose Caleb Williams there for a short period of time with that hamstring injury. Next year, you got to imagine, can USC get into the top 4? But you got to imagine it's going to have to be dependent squarely on if he can improve that defense. Do you agree with that, or how do you see that playing out next year for USC? Because Caleb Williams, I think that's going to be his junior year next year, and then I would imagine he would go pro after that.
Yeah, and like you said, Gonzo said, it all depends on is that defense, man. Because we know that they're going to have a top offense again. There's no question as long as they can bring in, keep as many of their pieces as they can from this year, and bring in whoever they can, transfer portal or guys who have signed. But I think the offense will be fine, but it's that defense, man, because this isn't just a defense with a few holes in it. This is a defense with a ton of holes in it. I mean, they gave up a ton of points. This isn't the first time either. I can understand if it was a one-time occasion, but they've been doing this pretty much all year in big games too. I mean, this was a big game. This was a bowl game, and you blew it. Shout out to Tulane for getting the big win there. I mean, not a lot of people saw that happening. But they preserved and they got it. And for USC, it's back to the drawing board. It really is.
Absolutely. And then, Frankie, again, like your opinion, I mean, what is up with USC, man? I mean, do you think they can get into the top 4? Can Lincoln Riley improve that defense to make it happen?
I wouldn't say that they can get into the top 4. I mean, yes, they were in it this year, and, they had a really solid year. But next year, I don't think they're going to get into the top 4. You got people that are going to be going into the draft. I feel like USC is going to get picked by a lot of people. Teams are going to pick a lot of players from USC just because of how well they all played this year. So, you're going to have the next man up mentality for Lincoln Riley and the USC team next year. And I just don't think that they're going to have that ability to make it to the top 4. Can they be in the top 10? Most likely. But I don't see them in the top 4 next year. You got, you still got Georgia. You got TCU, who's young and looking nice. You still got Michigan to worry about if they continue to have John Harbaugh on their team coaching. And then again, you got Ohio State, you got Alabama, you even got Tennessee. There's so many teams that look so much better than USC to me that have more potential making it to the top 4. But for USC, I think they can easily be a top 10 team next year, just not the top 4.
Real quick, follow-up question. Caleb Williams repeats, doesn't repeat as Heisman next year?
Oh, that's a good one, honestly. I think he has a chance to repeat. I really do. He's a really good quarterback. Depending on how he comes back from his injury, because he did get injured in his game this past Saturday. But depending on how that comes out, I think he has a real strong potential in taking the Heisman back to back.
Logan, Dustin May. Does Dustin May challenge him next year? Because Dustin May is only a freshman. He'll be a sophomore next year with North Carolina. That's if he doesn't go in the portal, which I don't think he will. But do you see May challenging him next year?
That's tough, man. I think that he could have a heck of a season. I think he could, but I'm not going to put the Heisman on him quite yet.
Absolutely, Gonzo. Frankie had thrown out the name of John Harbaugh. Obviously, we all know that people have been talking. Panthers have been talking with him. The Broncos have been probably thinking about it. At what point does Indianapolis say, "Hey, let's go give John Harbaugh an opportunity and let's get in the mix with this"?
Oh, I think they've probably already. I know, like today, it's been reported that Harbaugh had a call with the owner of the Panthers, and they said wasn't an interview or anything, but he had talked, or they had talked. And I wouldn't be surprised if if Irsay hasn't already reached out to him. I think the Colts will reach out to him and interview him. He's a played for the Colts, former player. He was loved at his time in Indianapolis. That's where he got his captain comeback name at. I hope they interview him, but we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if they've already talked a little bit. But we'll see if Harbaugh's serious about going to the NFL this year. Last year, everybody talked like he was all but gone from college, and then he ended up going back to Michigan and actually taking a little bit of a pay cut. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I hope the Colts are in on Harbaugh. With what he did with San Francisco when he was in the NFL, I know he didn't win the Super Bowl, but he got him to the Super Bowl, got to 2 NFC championship games. So he's a coach that's proven that can have success in the NFL. It's just basically going to be which one of the bad teams does he decide it's going to give him the best chance to have that success.
Logan, Gonzo points out something pretty specific where he was mentioning basically where he was talking about coming back and joining up with Minnesota. It turns it down for less money and stays with Michigan. Do you think that he does the same thing to whether it be the Broncos, the Colts, Panthers? Do you think he's doing the rope-de-dope and basically is just going to fool everybody and still stay with Michigan?
I think it would be a little bit more. I think he would be more likely to leave now that he has had two good seasons. We'll say, right? Obviously not winning a championship, but 2 really successful seasons nonetheless. And it would not surprise me if he goes back to the NFL. He had a bunch of success there. I'm sure that he's got a lot of guys blowing him up, saying, "Hey, we'd love to have you back here." So it would not surprise me, honestly, Jay, if he does leave. I think that there is more merit to it this time as opposed to last time.
Yeah, absolutely. Frankie, are you on board with Jim Harbaugh? Let me ask you this, Frank. Let me ask you a different way. Should Jim Harbaugh leave Michigan, given what he did this year, and could be potentially, because he'll have McCarthy back again, and possibly having another good season and possibly making another run at the championship? If you're Harbaugh, do you leave that to go to a team that most likely you're going to have to put in a lot of implications, because most of these teams like Carolina, the Broncos, their front offices are shit, and he's going to have to basically go in there and create his own culture. Does he leave the luxury of that job to go to the NFL to basically start from scratch? What do you think happens?
Yeah, I think he does. The man literally last year, like Chris said, last year we all thought he was going to leave college football, but the guy came so close to almost getting to the championship round and just missed out. And this year he actually gets to the top 4 to fight for the championship spot, and then loses it again. I think John is just done with fighting with the college level, and I think it's time for him to come into the NFL side again. Let's not forget the man. He till this day, honestly, I think in my eyes, the man should still be in the NFL level. There was nothing wrong with him in the NFL level when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. It just came to terms that both sides parted ways with the 49ers and himself, and the man just ended up deciding to go back to college because he's still a coach. So I think him going to like Denver, I think will be a good fit. Yes, their front office suck, but this is a man who has voice. You know, he has his reasonings, and I think he'll fit well with Russell Wilson. He'll turn this team around to something that we all thought would be better this year than we expected. Even if he went to Carolina, you know, that could be a good fit for him as well in Carolina because, I mean, look what Carolina has done, right? I mean, they traded away Christian McCaffrey and they traded away Baker Mayfield, or they let it go Baker Mayfield, I apologize, and they stuck with Sam Darnold and stuff. And yet they still ended up, you know, fighting for that division lead at the very end of the season, you know, from where in the beginning of the year, we all looked at the Carolina Panthers and said, well, this is a shitty team. You know, they fired their head coach quickly. I believe their head coach was the first coach to get fired this year. And they stood out with an interim coach who actually turned this team around into a winning contending team to try and fight for a playoff spot. And it sucks for them because they had to go up against the GOAT and Tom Brady at the very last minute to try and fight for that spot. But I think John Harbaugh will change that team around in Carolina or even Denver. But let's not forget, not only John Harbaugh might come back to the NFL, Sean Payton might come back to the NFL as well.
It's a good thing you mentioned that, Chris. You know, it's my contention that, you know, Harbaugh or the Carolina Panthers don't really need to interview for another coach. I think this interim coach that they have has done enough to turn the turmoil around, just like the Raiders, and damn near almost had them in the playoffs. I think it's my contention. I think the Panthers should stick with the interim and make him the actual legitimate coach. And then I think Harbaugh should either look at Indianapolis or Denver. And then I think the same thing with Sean Payton, depending on the Cowboys situation with McCarthy and what goes on over there. But I don't think Carolina really needs to offer Harbaugh. I think they have what they need currently.
It's tough to say. Don't get me personally, I think Wilkes has done a good enough job this year that he has earned a chance for that job. But with that owner, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't bring somebody in. I mean, he's wanting to try to atone for his mistake now because he gave Rule all that money, and it didn't work out. And this owner, for one, he has a lot of money. For two, he's shown that he wants to try to win. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do go after Harbaugh. But I agree with you. I think Wilkes has done a good enough job where he should get a chance. He hasn't really got a great deal so far in the NFL where he gets the job at Arizona, gets it for 1 year, then they get rid of him and the rookie quarterback that they drafted, and then now he's an interim coach, and he probably not going to get that head coaching job either.
Yeah, and again, your dad says Peyton will cost a draft pick, I believe. You know what? Hey, and if let me be honest with you, I think you're right, Tony. I think he does cost a draft pick, but you know what? Fuck it. He's worth it. He's worth it. Give up that draft pick. The guy's worth it. I really believe that. But I think, sometimes Carolina, maybe they just want to spend the money and go after a big name Harbaugh or whatever. But sometimes you're overlooking what's right there in front of you, and you have everything you need. You got chemistry. He's getting more out of Darnold than anybody else in the league has. Man, what a time to be alive. You got what you need. Again, that's just me talking. Next question is, right now, and this really is more geared to you, Tony, because I know you're a Colts fan. Colts are looking to draft at number 5. I've seen in several mock drafts where they have Levis going at number 5, and I think that's absolutely the wrong thing. I think you need to put C.J. Stroud at number 5 because I don't think in between the Texans and the Colts, nobody in between there really needs a quarterback. So I think you go with C.J. Stroud, especially after what he put up on Georgia. I think 41 touchdowns, 6 picks. I think you got to go with C.J. Stroud. That's just my opinion. But what do you think, Tony?
Tony, who's Tony?
Oh, I'm saying Chris. I'm saying Tony.
The offspring of Tony.
Okay, Tony Jr.
Honestly,
I'm sorry, man. Hey, but at least I kept it in the family, okay? Rob Scott, my brother.
Be honest with you, I don't think I want the Colts to take a quarterback with that top 5 pick. I think we should either trade back, work on building up the offensive line, try to get a receiver on the outside, and maybe go after Derek Carr or something like that. I don't. There's not a quarterback coming out that I'd use a top 10 pick on. I'm not sold on Stroud. I'm not sold on Levis.
Yeah.
Derek Carr's not going to the Indianapolis Colts.
Hold on. We haven't got to Derek Carr yet. Frankie, I get Gonzo's point because they are in desperate need of an O-line. They're also desperate need of a wide receiver one. But how often are you going to have the opportunity to draft a quarterback like a C.J. Stroud? You know what I'm saying? You can always pick up offensive line down the road. I mean, trust me, the Colts have more picks to pack up an offensive lineman. But how often do you really get an opportunity to get a guy like C.J. Stroud? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, Chris, I understand what you're saying, buffing up the offensive line and getting back to where you guys were at. But if I'm the Colts, I'm going for a quarterback at the number 5 spot just because you guys don't have that answer at that spot. And that's the one answer that every team needs is that quarterback. And I feel like that's what you guys need is a quarterback. And then if you want to look at an offensive lineman, then that's when you potentially, trade a player or switch a draft pick with someone, maybe in the second round because you're not going to get another first-round pick. So maybe in the second round, switch picks with somebody, and then you look at an offensive lineman. But with that 5 pick, knowing that you guys don't have a quarterback, because I know for a fact you're not sticking with Matt Ryan. And I know that. Nick Foles is it's just injury-prone Nick Foles, so I feel like the Colts are going to move on from him. And then that second-string quarterback is he's just godly awful. So
Ellinger just needs time. Ellinger's a young guy. He just needs time to mature. I think Ellinger is okay as a backup quarterback, and that's probably I think where his niche is being a backup. I don't think he's fully meant to be a starter. I think he's good.
Never going to be good, Jay. He's never going to be good because he doesn't have that quarterback that he's learning from. Matt Ryan is not that guy he needs to learn from.
Yeah, trust me, I get that. I get that too.
I understand that. I agree. Colts need a quarterback. I just don't think the answer at quarterbacks in this draft. I'm not sold on any of these quarterbacks in this year's draft.
Logan and Gonzo makes really good points, and I get where you're coming from. I do, but I gotta be honest, Logan. Look, you can go after the top offensive lineman or a wide receiver one, whatever you want to take at number 5 that you think is best available. And you can bring in a guy like Derek Carr because we know that the Raiders are putting him up on the trading block. But look at the Colts in past with free agents, Ryan, Lee, Rivers, the whole 9, right? I think it's time that they go after C.J. Stroud, and then they can draft or trade or pick up an offensive lineman in free agency. But again, these are just my thoughts. What is your input on this situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it because, I mean, there's a lot more questions other than the quarterback. I mean, one, is Jeff Saturday going to be your head coach coming into next season? And that's going to play a big part in, I think, if they're going to sign a quarterback, trade for a quarterback, or if they're going to draft one. Because I mean, if you're gonna have a new head coach who we'll just say is inexperienced, would you want to pair him up with a rookie quarterback coming into the league? I don't know about that. But if you go out and hire an experienced coach, we'll just throw a name out there because we mentioned him, Sean Payton. Well, if you sign him, then I would say go after a quarterback in the draft because it's someone who has a proven track record of developing quarterbacks or winning games, whatever. Personally, I don't know what the Colts are going to do. It's a weird situation because, like we said, they have a few holes they need to fill. If they're going to try and go the rebuild route, probably go, obviously go with a draft, but or kind of maybe do what the Falcons did and get a bridge quarterback, maybe to start. And if you get a Stroud or someone else or a Levis, but maybe you don't think they're ready, I mean, just put them on the bench for a year and see what happens. But personally, for me, I would go and I'd grab C.J. Stroud any day over Will Levis. Just what I've seen, he looks like he's that dude. And Levis, I just haven't seen that same intensity with him. I don't know what it is, but it's just something with Stroud that looks like he's got that it factor. For me personally, that's what I'd go with. But I don't know who you would go after. I mean, you mentioned Derek Carr, but I mean, who else could you go after who might be a name who's going to be out there? I mean, Mariota even. I mean,
maybe Garoppolo.
I mean, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. That is a weird situation now.
And Tony brings it up. He was talking about the USC corner, Caleb Williams. It'd be great to get them next year. But again, at the same time, I don't think you need to wait for a Caleb Williams. I think if you look at Stroud going up against Georgia, the number one team in the damn nation, and he is destroying Georgia.
Yeah, but have you seen how many games Stroud had played against some of these weaker defenses, and he looked like the normal guy.
I mean, I get that too, but again, there's things that he can learn. Am I saying is he pro ready? He may not be fully pro ready, but this is a guy.
If you're drafting a quarterback with a top 5 pick, he should be fucking pro ready. If I'm going to draft a guy that's not pro ready, why not move back in the draft?
I mean, hey, again, okay. So you move back in the draft. Who you drafted? Because if you don't get Caleb Williams, who you taking?
Second or third round, I'd rather take Dugan or a Hooker. If you're going to have a guy sit out for a season, to me, if you're a top 5 quarterback, you start right then. You don't sit out a season because you're not ready. And I'm not
saying you sit Stroud. I think I mean, I'm not saying that Stroud can't play. I'm just saying that would be an option.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I don't think Stroud would be ready to start.
Yeah.
But
we shall see. We shall see. All right, man. Hey, let's just go on ahead and get into this thing. We're already talking NFL. Let's just keep it going. Couple of questions. Number one, Daniel Jones and freaking Dayball, man. How crazy is this team? No, I did not think the Giants were going to be this good. Obviously, they have done well enough to secure a playoff spot. How far do you think Dayball can take this Giants team? How far do they go? Are they a first-round exit or so far? I think they're going to be a first-round exit. I think as well as they've done, I don't think they're going to get past the first, but I think the fact that they made the playoffs in his first year with them is freaking amazing. Gonzo, what are we looking at, man, with Dayball or Jones and the Giants?
I think it depends on who they played in the first round. I think right now they play the Vikings. Is that right?
And I believe so. They could beat the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings are showing.
I think that's a winnable game. So if they play the Vikings, I could see them maybe winning the game in the playoffs. But I think at the most maybe win one game this year, which still is outstanding season compared to what the Giants did the last 2 or 3 years before Dable got there. I mean, before this season, they didn't even pick up the extension on Daniel Jones. Now there's talk like they're going to keep Jones. So, I mean, not only has Dable turned that around, he's actually helped Jones turn his career around. I think they have a chance to win maybe in the first round, but I just don't know if they're going to have enough offense to go much farther than that.
No, too much.
Logan, let me ask you this. I'm going to go a different direction real quick. So Thibodeau, as we all know, was making snow angels after his sack on Foles, not realizing that Foles is hurt, and it looks like a dumbass when he realizes Foles is hurt, and he's over there making snow angels, man. Where does he go from here, and where do the Giants go from here?
I mean, obviously, I hope he would realize what he did was wrong and everything. I mean, there's been a lot of people calling him out for it, and rightfully so. It was not the right move. I mean, heck, even Chris. I mean, your head coach called him out, said it was, I think, garbage or something. But I mean, I think it's not going to be nothing major. I'm not seeing him getting suspended or nothing. At most, a fine, but I feel like we might have seen that already. But I mean, it's just it's just move on. It's not. I understand it's in poor taste. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see them doing any big suspension or nothing like that. I mean, we've seen this time and time again.
So, Frankie, like Tony just mentioned, they do play they're right now they are in alignment to play the Vikings. If it stays to that level, do you see the Vikings or the Giants getting past the Vikings and getting to the second round?
I do. I really do, honestly. I've been the Minnesota Vikings all season. I know that they're not the team that everybody thinks that they are. The Giants are a serious team, defensively and offensively as well. I think that the Vikings are going to be in trouble if they have to play the Giants. Just because let's go back and see, this is a team that literally just got spanked by the Packers, a team who has a bunch of nobodies. They barely only have Aaron Rodgers, and they got spanked by him. So I think the Giants are going to do well and be a second-round exit, not a first-round exit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I know we talked about Derek Carr previously. You know he's on the trading block. I think Indianapolis would be one destination for him to go to. Is there any other destinations you guys outside of Indy that you would see possibly Derek Carr going to if he does get traded? Logan?
Honestly, I haven't thought about it, Jay. I don't want to think about it. I just don't want to. It's been a rough season, man. Okay, I don't know where he's gonna go. I don't know what they're gonna do. I just want to be next season already with whoever's your quarterback, and I don't know where he's gonna go. I don't. I can't tell you a place. I hope he stays, but I know he's been trashed. But hey, I don't know what else they're gonna do. They can't draft to save their lives, so I don't know.
Let me ask you this, Gonzo. No, I'm gonna come back to you on that one. Let me give it to Frankie because this is really one of Frankie's old teammates. Frankie, let me ask you this: if Derek Carr does get traded, Stidham has already been playing and he did do pretty well. And he obviously is familiar with Josh McDaniels too. It's like they're back together again. You know, should the Raiders just stick with Stidham and try to ride that horse next season, or do they look for another quarterback?
If I'm the Raiders, I'm looking for another quarterback. I wouldn't trust Stidham. Trust me, I will know. It's just one game. Yes, he does have good weapons, better weapons than what he had in New England. But I wouldn't put my trust and faith in Jarrett Stidham. I think they're just putting him in right now to see what he can do, and if he's ready to potentially become their starter. But if Josh McDaniels is smart, he would keep Derek Carr somehow, some way. I don't know why they're doing this to Derek Carr, but if I'm Josh McDaniels, I'm keeping Derek Carr, and I'm just not going to start Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, I believe I'm totally on board with you as well on that as well. But Gonzo, let me ask you this, man. I mean, honestly, you guys have been through a plethora of free agent quarterbacks. None of them really panned out for you. But Carr most likely is the best free agent that you brought in by far of those guys. If they do bring him in, would you be willing or would you want to give up? Because you know they're going to want the first-round pick for Carr. Would you give up the first-round pick to bring in a Derek Carr and then go from there?
Yeah, I think I would. To me, the difference between Carr and like Rivers and Ryan is Rivers and Ryan were pretty much over the hill, old past their prime. I don't think Carr's reached that point yet. I just think I don't know what the problem with Carr this year has been with the Raiders. I don't know if it's just McDaniel's system or what. I think there's something going on between him and McDaniels. I don't think they get along. But I think there's going to be quite a few teams interested in Carr. I mean, Saints, the Panthers that we were talking about Panthers. Panthers could be. I mean, because there's quite a few teams that need a quarterback. I think what the Raiders are going to end up doing. I think Tom Brady's going to end up a Raider next season.
Man, if that happens, that would be quite amazing. Like I said,
Chris,
coordinator.
I'll tell you what. Give me Tom Brady and give me Sean Payton. We'll roll with that.
So I think Tom Brady's going there to do it in the game.
For Brady. Let me ask you guys this: we've already talked a little bit about the Vikings. You know they got they got killed by the Packers 41-17. Packers are trying to get into the playoff spot. Cousins did not look good. He threw 3 damn interceptions. Jefferson got 1 damn catch for 15 yards. Is it safe to say that even though, yes, they have a great record, in fact, it's even a little bit better than the Eagles' record right now, and we'll see if that stands come next week. But do you guys have the Vikings being a one-round exit? Logan?
No, I know that they've been kind of playing rough as of late. I mean, they haven't looked as sharp. But I think that they're a team that they're not going to be a one and done. I don't think that.
Seriously, because they are going if it stands to going against the Giants, that would be interesting. And speaking of that, Frankie, 1-round exit, or do they beat the Giants if that is who they play and continue on to the next round?
Who, the Bucks?
No, Vikings.
Oh, Vikings. Are we talking about the Vikings being a first-round exit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think. I already said it. I definitely think the Vikings are going to be a first-round exit. Everybody has so much hype on these guys, but let's look at the teams that they lost to, and let's look at the teams that they won against. then again, let's look at these games that they won by, a merger of. So I don't think that the Vikings are really that good. I mean, yeah, everybody talks about that 33-0 comeback, but that was against a Colts team that is honestly just I'm sorry, Chris, but just terrible on the defense and just terrible as a quarterback on Matt Ryan's part. Matt Ryan should have found a way to seal the deal on that game, and everybody thinks that the Vikings are something because they came back from a 33-0 game. But I think I feel like most likely the Vikings will be a first round exit, no matter who they play. They can play the Cowboys, they can play the Giants, and they can play whoever's going to take that 7th spot in the NFC. It could be the Packers, it could be the Lions, it could even be the Seahawks.
No, absolutely. And real quick, I'm going to go to the Commanders and Browns. It was told that Ron Rivera did not realize that this was a possible elimination game or an elimination game. How much now, and obviously, Carson Wentz just played like absolute dog poo-poo, dog shit, whatever you want to call it, with 3 interceptions, only 143 yards. What do we say about Ron Rivera? He did not even know that where his team was positioned. Is it pretty much the end of Ron Rivera? Do you think his era is coming to a close in Washington? Gonzo?
I don't think his era is going to be come to a close in Washington. I think he knew his team was getting eliminated. I think that was more him fucking around with the media because, like, why you telling me that I already know? But I think his biggest mistake was going back to Wentz after you bench Wentz for Heineke and then going back to Wentz for the last couple games. I think that's his biggest mistake, and that could be what maybe gets him out of there. But I think with everything that's going on, I think Snyder might be gone. I think that general manager likes Rivera. So I think Rivera will be back for another year, but they're another team that needs to figure out the quarterback situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Logan, if you can expand upon the question that Gonzo just laid out before us, we all know Snyder's gone. And again, do you think, number one, Rivera is out the door, or do you think he's on a short leash? That's what I'm asking. Is Rivera on a short leash, and who the hell is going to be the quarterback next year for the Commanders?
If they do end up bringing him back, and like you said, it's going to depend on, if they get a new owner and whatnot, and that's going to play a big factor into it. Obviously, I think if they do, more than likely 9 times out of 10, you see, especially for a franchise who's struggling, they get a new coach. So that's a possibility. If not, then I definitely could see him getting fired midway through the season if they still struggle. Because this is a team who 2 years ago, they were looking pretty good. They had some momentum, and then now it's just it's fizzled out. Chase Young hasn't been healthy. He hasn't looked great. The whole quarterback situation, you get Carson Wentz, but he hasn't been good at all. You have Heineke, who he looks good. He looks better than Wentz, but, he's not playing. And, they've got good pieces. It's just that they just haven't been able to gel yet. But, yeah, I definitely would have Rivera either gone this offseason or definitely on a short leash next year because, how long can you accept mediocrity out there?
No, absolutely. Frankie, Wentz, Heineke, somebody else, Ron Rivera, short leash. What are we looking at?
Damn. I'm honestly, as big as a Patriot fan I am, I'm a huge fan of Ron Rivera. I like the guy's coaching. He's a Hispanic coach. He's a really good coach. He's in a really stuck situation right now with a injured prone quarterback in Carson Wentz, and a quarterback that you don't know what you're gonna get out. One week you can have a phenomenal quarterback who honestly looks like he can take over the league in the near future, compared to where 1 week he's just a shit quarterback and he's just going to be a downfall of a team or of a franchise in the near future, and that's Tyler Heineke that I'm talking about. So I don't really want to say that the Washington Commanders are going to put him on a short leash or even have him on a hot seat next year, just because Ron Rivera can honestly he can coach really good. It's just that quarterback position that he's having trouble with. Yeah, Chase Young, he's hurt and stuff like that, but they're doing the best for Chase Young. Ron Rivera, that's his decision not to play this guy because he's thinking of the future of the Washington Commanders, knowing that Chase Young is going to be a top valued man for the defense of this team. So I feel like that's that shows right there that Ron Rivera knows what he's doing. Like I said, it's just a quarterback, the quarterback position. Maybe he can swing something out this offseason to try and get a quarterback. Maybe Derek Carr or I don't know who else will be on the list for him. That'll be good enough to contend. But to go back onto what you're saying, when he looked confused because he didn't know that this week was an elimination game. I understand that, and it's because of that tie that's on their record that they got with the Giants. The ties on your record always confuses a team because you never know if that tie can save you or break you. And
absolutely.
And that's what that's why I understand why he said what he said. Chris, you guys got a tie this year, and if you guys would have had a better season, maybe you guys would have went in there. Maybe you guys still would have went out, right? You could have had a winning season, but still not make the playoffs because of that tie. The ties always kill you in the NFL.
Yeah, they really do hurt.
That's why Ron Rivera felt a little bit confused.
Quick question, Brady, he looked like the vintage Brady this last game against Carolina, right? 3 touchdowns to Mike Evans, for a lot of yards. Just looked like old school Brady. The Bucs looked pretty good against Carolina D. How far do we have them going in the playoffs? Are they one and done, or does Brady work Brady magic and go farther in the playoffs? And if so, how far? Gonzo?
Oh man, Jay
wants them to be a one and done.
Who's Tampa Bay gonna play that first game of the playoffs?
Dallas.
I don't know.
They play in Dallas.
Is it? Oh, there you go. Oh, and then speaking of which, hey, we're gonna do a combo question since they probably do play Dallas. So who goes farther? Does Dallas finally get their first career playoff win and go farther in the playoffs, or does Tom Brady play spoiler and go farther than them? What are we looking at, Gonzo?
Man, I'm gonna go with Tom Brady playing spoiler and putting the Cowboys out just because I don't trust the way Dak Prescott's been playing in the quarterback position since he's came back. Leads the league in interceptions. And everybody talks about Brady having a bad year, but if you look at Brady's numbers, he hasn't had a terrible year numbers-wise. Buccaneers just have struggled scoring in the red zone. Has been their biggest issue, and their defense hasn't been as good as it was last year. But they have been starting to play better here later in the season. And even though I hate to say it because I'm not a Tom Brady fan because I'm a Colts fan, but it's hard to bet against Brady in the playoffs.
Logan, I kind of based on a little bit what Gonzo said. Look, he was my fantasy quarterback. Trust me, I know he didn't have a bad year, but fantasy numbers wise, he was terrible for me. But that's okay. It's neither here nor there. But again, it's my personal belief that Micah Parsons, D-Law, Armstrong, and company can put pressure on Brady. I think they take out Tampa in this one. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm just saying it because we all know that Brady does not handle pressure. He doesn't handle pressure well. And I think this is just a year of Cowboy defense coming on. But, Logan, what is your thoughts? Cowboys or Tampa?
I don't trust either of these damn teams, Jay. I don't, because I don't trust.
This is the Raider coming out on you. Tell me what you really think.
No. And hear me out, right? Hear me out. So obviously the Buccaneers have struggled in the lowly NFC South all year. I mean, they've looked better somewhat recently, but still, I mean, it's taken them how many weeks? And for Dallas, like I said, they've looked good in spurts, but Dak hasn't looked as good as I know you would like Dak to look.
Oh, I know. Trust me.
Ezekiel Elliott's still just kind of there stealing money from you. But it's a tough one. But from a fan, from a podcast, I would love to see the Buccaneers get the win just so I can see you blow up on the Cowboys. But I think that I think the Cowboys could give them a good run for their money and could knock them out realistically. I really do. I think that we could see Dak get his first win in the playoffs after X amount of years, and finally maybe silence some doubters out there. But I mean, I don't think it's going to be a blowout or nothing. But I would. I'll give it to Dallas a little bit, sure.
Frankie, listen to my question. We all saw. I know you're a Tom Brady fan.
I don't
Hold
want to
on.
listen to it.
I know you're a
Beat
Tom
you guys.
Brady guy because he came out of New England. So I know you. I know you got you were in the years ago. Look, nobody's going to say that Tom Brady is not the GOAT. Okay, let's just set that off. Let's take that off the table because we all know that. But what I'm asking you is this: you saw how well Dallas played against Philly. Now, granted, you can say they didn't have Ertz, and so be it. But still, Garner played a pretty good job, and Phillies did give the Cowboys a run for the money, and they do have the second best record in the league. Now, what I'm asking is there's two types of Cowboys. There's the Cowboys that come to play, and there's the Cowboys that stay at home and think about playing. If the Cowboys come out and they play like they did against the Eagles, is there any way that we can say that Tampa is not going to win this game?
I mean, the only one way, and you said it earlier, the only one way that the Dallas Cowboys can beat Tampa in this game and move on and breaking the long streak of always losing their first playoff game is pressuring Tom Brady. That is the one thing that's the one thing they had to do. But I think, that pressuring Tom Brady is not going to be enough for the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like Tom Brady's going to find a way, as he always do in the playoffs, he's going to find a way to somehow, some way win this game. Let alone he's playing at home. He's playing at home. Dallas won't be at home during that game. So that's one win right there for Tom Brady. He loves to play at home field. So he got the home field advantage against Dallas. Can the offensive line protect Tom Brady? As they've been doing the last couple of games, they have been protecting this man really well the last couple of games. But can they keep it up? The one thing that scares me, honestly, is just the weapons and Tom Brady's how do I say this? Not accuracy, but speed wise of the game. Because he has been looking a little bit slow. He's been staying in the pocket for a long time, where normally, we see Tom Brady only being in the pocket for about 2 seconds minimum. He's been in the pocket for a long time. The last couple of games I've been seeing him. So that's just the one thing that scares me with Tom Brady and the Bucs. But I still think that Tom Brady's going to somehow, some way win this game and move on to the next round of the divisional round. There's no way I'm gonna, and I'm not being biased, but I just don't think that Dallas Cowboys are gonna show up. Like you said, there's sometimes that they're a team that shows up, and there's a time that they're a team that just stay at home. And I think every time in the playoffs, they're always a team that stays at home because they're too excited as a team to finally be like, we're in the playoffs. Then they get that momentum going that they tell themselves, okay, now what can we do to win? We have to do this to win. And I feel like they're pushing themselves too hard or forcing themselves too hard to try and get the win, to where they're just not focused on the field to get that win, if you guys understand what I'm trying to say.
No, absolutely. And again, I think the best version of that was when Dallas played the 49ers last year in the first round of the playoffs. If you look at that first half, Dallas was on the couch. They were sleeping. They were on the couch, didn't care, whatever. And they were getting their asses handed to them. And then I think if you look at the second half of that game, Dallas came alive, and then we saw the Dallas Cowboys for where they really were. But by that time, it was just too late to overcome what they were trying to overcome. So I think to your point, and I think that game illustrates that if Dallas comes to play like they're supposed to come to play, then Tampa will get beat. But if Dallas comes not to play and if they go on a snooze fest or whatever, then yeah, I think Tampa takes it. So we're gonna have to wait and see which Dallas team actually comes and plays.
And it also comes to Mike McCarthy as well, Jay. Let's not put put him to the side. The guy as well. He's coming in.
I get it. Trust me. Because if they don't get past that first round, I'll be the first one, like I was last year, calling for his head and bringing in Sean Payton. So trust me, the play calling is another factor. I get it. Trust me. And that's even a more complicated situation, is how much do you blame McCarthy and how much do you blame Kellen Moore? Because we know Dan Quinn has a defense on lockdown. So really we got to look at those two guys in general and figure out where the disconnect, why we're not going further than what we should be. So, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on the coaching staff and the roles they play in on the Cowboys. All right, NCAA, man. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I just want to ask you this, man. Look, we got TCU, we got Georgia. Now, everybody and their mother's going to scream Georgia. Everybody's going to. And I get that. I get it. Everybody's going to scream Georgia. I think Michigan overlooked TCU, and TCU got the edge and they got the win. TCU came out to play. Michigan came out sluggish. What do we think about Georgia? We saw that Michigan pushed them to the edge to the point where it came down to a field goal by Ohio as to whether or not Georgia was going to be there or not be there. I think this TCU, I think Max Duggan is a different breed of cat. Max Duggan is a warrior. He comes out, he gives everything he has, he puts it all on the field, and he makes no excuses. And I think this TCU team could give Georgia the fight that they've been looking for outside of what Ohio gave them last weekend. But how do you guys see this? How do you guys see TCU and Georgia in terms of who gets the victor and why? And actually, let me ask you this. When I ask you this, I want you to give me two reasons how TCU can win and two reasons how Georgia could lose. So those are the two questions I want you to answer. Gonzo.
Yeah, I think Georgia wins this game. I like Georgia's offense. I don't think TCU is going to be able to slow their offense down a whole lot. I mean, they basically have the same offense they had last year when they won the national championship. Everybody came back in offense. Their question this year was going to be the defensive side of the ball. They lost like 8 guys last year to the NFL, but the defense has been pretty solid for Georgia all year. I think Georgia's going to win the line of scrimmage, and I think that's going to be the difference in the game is who controls that offensive and defensive line. I think Georgia is going to be able to control it. So for that reason, I think Georgia is going to get the win. But don't get me wrong. I think TCU has proven they belong. And I'm going to be rooting for TCU just because I like to see the underdog win. But I do think Georgia's going to win this game.
Logan, again, man. Hey, same question. Good. And by the way, I understand what you're saying about the line of scrimmage, and I agree with you because I think that's where you have to figure out can they control Georgia's running backs and how much can they contain them. So I agree with what you're saying, Logan. Who do you have winning, and what is the reasons how does TCU win, and what could prevent Georgia, and what would be the weaknesses of Georgia?
All right. Also, this is going to be my last topic for the night in my head out, but I will say this, Jay. So for TCU to win, it's going to be kind of based on Georgia because, if you looked at the Georgia game, there were some guys limping. There were some guys getting stretched out. There's a few minor injuries. And you only have a short week to recoup that. We'll see if those come into play there. And also, I mean, Stetson Bennett didn't have the greatest game. I know he had that big comeback, but he didn't have a total lights out performance, right? He did struggle at some points. And so it's just which Stetson are we going to see? Are we going to see that phenomenal first and fourth quarter, or are we going to see the second and third quarter Stetson Bennett? We'll see. But for TCU, like you said, it's up to, what can Max Duggan do? And also, like Chris said, just piggybacking off of that, they got to win that line of scrimmage, man, because that running game, if they can get that running game going, that just opens up your entire offense. But it is going to be a tough battle against Georgia, who like we know what they're about. We know who all's on that team and that those monsters they got there. So if you can win the line of scrimmage and also, we'll see if. Because, let's not forget, Stetson also came out last year in the national championship game. Didn't look that sharp, but he came back in the end. So we'll see which version we get, if the injuries, if any nagging injuries come into play, because seemingly they always do. And also, if TCU can get that phenomenal running game, and if Duggan can do what he's been doing pretty much the whole year, if he can facilitate what they can do. But I think that overall Georgia does get to win this one. I don't have it being a blowout or anything, but I do think they'll win, and I do think TCU will put up a great fight, and I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. Frankie, TCU, Georgia, man, what are we looking at?
I'm going to go with TCU. Everybody's going with Georgia. I think that TCU got a strong chance at winning this game. Georgia honestly shouldn't even be here. Although it's just the Ohio State kicker sucks. Real bad. He pulled a 1990s Buffalo Bills kick. That was insane to me. That he has a good game with kicking, and then the game-winning kick that's on his shoulders, it goes crazy right or crazy left. It's insane. Georgia shouldn't be here. I think TCU, like everybody says, they need to hold that offensive line and the ground game. But also to me, it comes down to the second half. TCU has always been a second half comeback team, and I feel like if they keep that up and come out of the second half strong as they always do, they can prevail and secure a championship ring on their fingers. So I'm gonna go with TCU for the win. The one thing that weakens me for Georgia is, like Logan said, the injuries. We've seen a lot of people limping. Even the quarterback was hurt for Georgia. So I think TCU has a strong, better chance. And let's not forget they they're to me they're a little bit better. I think TCU is a little bit better. They have more at heart of winning than Georgia. Georgia's just winning because they have the coach from last year, they have the players from last year, but TCU is fighting with heart.
All right, folks. Hey, we're going to get to some final thoughts, and then we're going to get up on out of here. We're about that hour and 10 mark, and we will catch you guys on Thursday. Frankie, final thoughts.
I don't really have much. Like earlier, for my final thoughts, I just want to, say for DeMar Hamlin, my thoughts and prayers for you and your family. Hope he comes out, healthy and okay. The man is still in critical condition, breathing tube, helping him breathe. It's just a real sad sight. We've never seen anything like this in the history of NFL for somebody to get CPR in the middle of the field and literally are dealing with a life-threatening injury right now. The Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati game, like we said earlier, has been postponed, and actually they're not playing this week at all. So we don't know when they're going to be rescheduling that. Maybe hopefully sometime next week, right before playoff starts, they can do that because, like Chris said earlier in our segments, the first top three seeds for the AFC is going to be a little wild now because that was the game right there. For one, that was the game of the year. It was supposed to be the game of the year, and two, that was supposed to be the game to determine who's going to be first, second, or third.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonzo, final thoughts, brother.
Basically about just piggybacking off what Frankie just said. Keep the Hamlin family in your prayers. A sad situation that we saw last night. Hopefully, we don't see anything like that on the football field for a long time. Like I said, I've been watching football for over 30 years. I've never seen anything like that. The only thing that really compared that to me that I was watching live was the Owen Hart situation because I was watching that pay-per-view live when that happened. But yeah, just kind of like what we said earlier. You're not promised tomorrow, so make sure you live your life for today, and make sure you let the people around you know that you care about them because you never tomorrow's not promised.
So
yeah,
I rewatched the highlights of that play, and T. Higgins did go with his shoulder, but that's just a normal thing that everybody does. They go with the shoulders for a tackle and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it was a cardiac arrest? Is it possible that his shoulder pads were probably a little bit too tight, and it just it punctured? Not punctured, but it kind of hit his heart deep. It helped to stop it to where that's what happened. Like he had
that is definitely one of the things. They were talking more about the helmet and shoulder pad, I guess, combo to the stomach. They're saying that it could have possibly put his heart out of rhythm, which caused the arrest. Of course, we'll find out more as time goes on. But yeah, Frankie, to answer your question, that is a possibility that they have raised, and I guess we're gonna have to wait and see as time goes on and what comes out of that. But to answer your question, you are correct. That is possibly one of the scenarios. All right, folks. Hey, this is Unscripted again. Our hearts and prayers are with the Hamlin family as well as the Martina Navratilova family. I know I said her name wrong. I apologize. I can never say those names correctly. Martina. Let's just say Martina.
There you go.
Okay. Look, our thoughts and prayers. It's hard, man. Our thoughts and prayers are with both of them for her to get a speedy recovery and for DeMar Hamlin to get a speedy recovery and get back to living life again like they need to. Again, you can catch us out for all the up-to-date information on DeMar, Martina, and everything else going forth. Check us out on Twitter at Unscripted Guys. I promise you, anything that comes out, Frankie is like Johnny on the spot. He keeps us up very well up to date. Frankie, I thank you for that. And Unscripted Guys, all one word, on Twitter for up-to-date information, as well as Unscripted Sports on TikTok. You can find us on YouTube, Unscripted by the date of the show, and ASAP Unscripted Facebook pages. We're pretty much everywhere, just like Gonzo's Sports Room, Gonzo's Easy Money show. He's got Afternoon Blitz Monday through Fridays. Then he's got his show with the sports judge at 11 o'clock. Is that Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 Eastern?
Yep.
So make sure you check him out there. Gonzo is the man on the scene. I'm telling you, man on the scene. He's everywhere.
Soon, Gonzo, me, and Rob Scott will be having a wrestling show where we'll be talking about wrestling.
And then maybe if you're lucky, we can watch Gonzo slap Frankie in the chest 4 times and knock him the F out.
Oh, man, I've been getting Ric Flair chopped for a long time. I don't think that can happen.
Man, let me tell you something. He puts that cane on your ass. You ain't gonna know shit. You're too slow and too heavy to worry about it. That dude's quick as hell on that cane. Trust me, he'll get you. He'll get me. Listen, I'm a wussy, man. Look, it wouldn't take much time. All you gotta do is hit me in the kneecaps. I'll fold like a little woman. I'll tell you.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie.
Well, see,
I don't know how them guys take those chops, man.
Well,
I took them every night.
I don't know how they take them either, man.
It's a way that you're supposed to take it. When they come in and do the chop, you're supposed to clinch like your upper body, like clinch it a little bit to where you're closing your chest.
More than just the upper body, I'll tell you that. But okay, I'm clenching the whole. Hey, I'm about to go in the whole state of rigor mortis. I promise you. What a time to be alive. Jeez Louise, man.
Speaking of Jay, are we doing a WrestleMania show this year, Jay?
You said what?
Are we gonna do a WrestleMania show again this year?
Yeah. Why would we not?
I mean, all right. So are we gonna do both nights again, or are we just gonna do one night?
To be determined. We'll discuss. To be determined.
Okay.
Hey, we are doing WrestleMania. Hey, when is it? When is the date of that again?
April 1st.
Oh yeah. Hey, listen, we'll figure that out by March 1. We will know if we're doing both days or one day.
Yeah, I think it's like
we will take a poll in the chat group, and whatever the group wants to do, that's what we'll do, and we will get that. We'll get that out to you a month ahead of time, so that won't even be an issue. But yeah, we are. But to answer your question, we are doing WrestleMania. That's going to happen. That's going. I
did get news that John Cena is supposed to be fighting Logan Paul at WrestleMania.
Oh, jeez Louise, man. What a time to be alive. What a time. Is there anybody that Logan Paul's not fighting? I'm just asking. I'm about to throw Melanie in there and have Melanie go fight his ass. I bet Melanie whoop his ass.
I think Melanie will kick his ass.
Dude, she's in the mountains of West Virginia. She out there fighting bears and tigers. Trust me, man.
We'll just give Logan Paul a handicap 2-on-1 match, and we'll just throw Caitlyn in there with Melanie.
Hey, listen. Melanie got so much testosterone, I had to introduce her to Nair and a razor, okay, before I could even talk to her. I thought she was a Sasquatch when I first met her, but now she's a beautiful young lady, and she makes me look like nothing, so it's crazy.
Caitlyn's got a dark side where she Ric Flair chopped me one time, and it made me cry.
It did happen. Gonzo will be with us Gonzo will be with us Thursday and Saturday, 7, 8. Frankie, I don't know. Are you going to be with us any of those days?
I hop on when I hop on. I'm too busy with Twitter.
And that's all I had to say about that, Apple. And we appreciate Twitter. I tell you, man, Frankie's doing a killer job again. Unscripted guys over there on Twitter, all one word. Hey, till next time, man. It's your boy Jay, Frankie the Yankee, Frankie Foxborough. We got Babyface Logan. We got Gonzo Sports Room. And yeah, man, y'all be good.